We are well into Dynasty Fantasy Football season now, and that we know our value of our 2026 rookie picks. We can get stuck into some trades, Ed. And the first player that I have as a trade for candidate is Mr. Justin Herbert. I would say at the moment for me, startup Dynasty rankings, I'm putting him around QB6. I take him over Patrick Mahomes. I take him over Jackson Dart and players like that. And I think he's a player on the rise rather than a bounce back because the circumstances around him just seem to be picking up. I'm sticking to my end of season take as well that this year he could be on the cusp of one of his best ever seasons. He's got McDaniels now calling plays. He's got a fit O-line, hopefully, after a bit of a disastrous year last year. Another year of development for McConkey and Johnston. Gadsden looks like he might be the real deal. Hampton, we've got a pension on the cusp of a mega RB season as well. He's just got so much to work with. What are we looking at trade-wise? I mean, now that we know our trade values, you're going to have to pay a lot more than an early first at this point. There is no way on earth you're happy for Mendoza instead of Herbert. The genie's out the bottom of the 2027 draft class, isn't it? We're expecting a wave of QBs there, but they're still the unknown. So I thought I'd be quite happy to pay up knowing I've got a QB of Justin Herbert's quality who has the potential of having a really good fantasy season this year. We are both fans of Herbert, but he's someone that you would be happy going into next season. Is he someone that you would actively be trying to acquire?
Yeah, I've always been a huge fan of Herbert. He comes from that fantastic draft class in 2020. I think it's a huge season for the Chargers and Harbaugh. They've had back-to-back 11-6 seasons. They've lost in the wild card both seasons. And I think they really want to push on now. Herbert is a fantastic player, but he needs that deep playoff run now, I think. And he's got all the talent to do it, and he's got all the weapons to do it. I don't think there are the excuses left anymore. He looks like he's going to be heading into the season fit and firing, and I agree. I think he should be nailed on for a top 5, top 6 fantasy quarterback season.
He's not a player that you're drafting because of his rushing upside, but he had a little bit of that last year, didn't he? Just under 500 rushing yards, couple of rushing touchdowns as well. It's a bonus rather than expectation compared to other QBs. But last year, QB 10, I think I'm going for my first. I'm saying this is a lukewarm take rather than a hot take. Top 5 QB next year, I'd feel fairly confident drafting him with that being my expected outcome.
Agreed. Lukewarm is fair. I wouldn't say that's a hot take. If I had Herbert, I would be hoping he'd be top 5.
This leads perfectly on for some of the same reasons to your first pick, Ed. Who are you trading for at this time of the year?
Indeed, I was high on him earlier in the off-season, and nothing's changed from that point of view. We're looking at lad McConkey. So with trade targets, you're always looking for some value, of course. And I wonder whether a few people might be out on lad after that disappointing 2025. Great rookie season, wide receiver 13. He hit the 1,000-yard mark, 7 touchdowns, but then wide receiver 30 last year, just 66 receptions, just 6 touchdowns. I don't think that's the start of a downward trend. He's got Josh McDaniels, as we've mentioned. That's going to help the Chargers offense. A fitter O-line. They've also invested in their O-line in the draft for the first time since 2017. The Chargers have drafted 3 O-line men in the draft. No necessary superstars, but they're investing in it, which is important. I just don't think there's anything that's really going to stop McConkey from being wide receiver 1 in LA this year. Keenan Allen's 33. Quentin Johnston's good, but not great. And I just fancy him to be top 15, 20. And as I said, I feel there's that value in him if a few people are down on him after that disappointing sophomore year. So I do think there might be some value there.
ADP is not a huge degree of use this time of year because it will change a lot through the offseason. But he's currently going as wide receiver 15 in Dynasty startups. To be fair, that seems about right. I think with McConkey, you're expecting a handful, if not more, wide receiver 1 weeks, but you're not expecting a wide receiver 1 overall, are you, over the season? I think he's a solid player that if you've got him as your wide receiver too, you're really, really happy with that because of the upside he offers you. So, yeah, I think we are both preaching to convert in our first two picks, Ed, with Herbert and McConkey. If you are joining us for the first time, though, and you haven't been with us before, please do take a moment to subscribe, to a like, and to give us a share. We've got rookie content already available on our channel and plenty more to come through the off-season as well. Next up, a player that I think this is possibly, if things go the way I'm expecting to be, your last opportunity to be able to get Colston Loveland. Looking at the moment, he is going in ADP as tight end 3, behind Bowers, behind McBride. And that, to me, feels like where he sits. Looking at the situation he is in, he has a route to being the next, well, one of the few plug and play tight end ones every single week without hesitation. Reasons for that? Look at the last 2 games of the season, 10 targets and 13 targets. Great volume there. And then in the playoffs, when it matters, he totaled 25 targets in 2 games. And for me, he is going to be the man in Chicago when it comes to targets now that he's found that rapport with Williams. With Moore leaving, Luther Burden's stock absolutely rocketed. So Loveland's went up, but for me, I would much rather be putting my money into Loveland and paying up a little bit more to get that premium tight end, because it just looks that's where the targets are going to go. He was tight end 12 last year. Now, I think at tight end 12, if you're in a league where people aren't quite as plugged in, they're not spending as much time as, I mean, you're all watching a fantasy football YouTube show in May. You're quite plugged into what's going on. But some of those leagues where people aren't maybe quite so on the ball, you might be able to get a bit of a better value. Once again, for what it's worth, according to Dynasty Calculator on Keep Trade Cut, a fair trade, according to their valuation, would be the 105. I'm sorry, but if that's where you're potentially taking Sadiqa if you're high on Stowers, not interested in either of those two compared to Loveland at all. What are your thoughts? Would you rather gamble on that rookie pick, or would it be Loveland all day for you?
I was a huge fan of Loveland right from the start. I think he was fantastic throughout the draft process, and he grew into last season, didn't he? And I think you're exactly right. Last year we struggled for like genuine tight end ones who you could plug in and play, and I do think he is going to be one of those next season. I think he's absolutely nailed on to be a top 5 tight end, and I think he's going to be he's going to be a huge target for Williams. So yeah, there's a lot of agreement so far, Mark, because Loveland is someone I'd be trading for, but I think I worry that people might be asking a bit too much for him. That's the only thing, because like I say, I think he is one of the very few genuine tight end ones this season.
And this is the thing. I think when it comes to tight end as well, people do want that, but because it can be a proper conundrum, can't it, when you're trying to get your tight end? So I think that's where some of that value comes in. I mean, if you're in tight end Premium League, forget about it. I don't think anyone's trading your Loveland at all. But when we're talking trade for, it's because we feel that ceiling could be even higher. And this is your window. If you want Loveland, be aggressive with it now, because it's probably not happening again. We might, Ed, disagree on this one, though. So I'm looking forward to you making your case on why we should be trading for another Bear.
Yes, indeed. We're staying in Chicago and we're going with Monangai. I just love his name. No, not really. I mean, it is a fantastic name. But I just think, I think in Chicago this year, it's a genuine head-to-head between Monangai and DeAndre Swift for who leads the Bears backfield. And I don't think it's set in stone either way at the moment, but I fancy Monangai to win that battle. In his rookie year, Monangai increased his snap count from 9 in week 1 to 30 in the divisional round of the playoffs. You've got Swift entering the 7th year of his NFL career, so he's not exactly a veteran, but he's got some bruises. He's he's put in the hard yards. I just find it really interesting that the Bears declined to draft a running back last month, and I just feel that shows some faith in Monangai if they're he was a day 3 pick, but that they seem happy with the running back stable that they've got, and they didn't feel the need to invest in it when a lot of people were speculating whether they would or not. I just think at worst, he acts as number 2 behind Swift, but there were signs last year, especially when Swift was out, that Monangai was more than capable of dominating. I just feel like he's someone I'd be willing to invest in and someone I could get decent value in trading for. And I feel there's huge upside with him. But yeah, maybe I haven't convinced you, but he is someone that I am going to try and get in a few leagues.
So once again, as a start point, looking at keep trade cut, we're looking at around a late first, early second as far as fairish trade value. So for me, the question is Jonah Coleman or Monangai, and I don't know. I think in a vacuum, I think I'd rather have Jonah Coleman. My concern is Dobbins and Harvey in Denver, and you're right, Monangai has that clearer route to being the lead back. I think this is one of those trades, as we say, you never know who has won a trade until the careers are done for both players. I think you could absolutely, if you're making that exact comparison, you'd probably be happier with Monangai for the next year or two, but you could well then be happy with Coleman moving down the stretch. So yeah, I see the logic, and I think I would probably still lean towards Coleman, but I'm not going to put a big exception in. Next one is a player that I'm not sure. There's a part. Well, I'm doing a bit of a cheat. I'm doing a 2-parter, and I'm start with Brian Thomas Jr. Now, this is what I'm not sure how tough a sell it will be for you, because 2024's wide receiver 4 was 2025's wide receiver 42.
You've been on him since the start, haven't you, Mark? You were a big fan of him.
I got the seasons the wrong way around completely. So that breakout, I can't see it. I don't see this guy's going to be anything. And it was brilliant. I then kind of sort of go, okay, I accept wrong. And then when I come back around, but whatever I decide this year, go the opposite as far as your banking goes. He's currently, I reckon you'd be looking for mid-first. So with that draft class, you're not going to get Tate, Tyson, Lemon. You're probably talking around the point you'd be taking KC Concepcion. I'd rather take Concepcion at that point. However, depending what the draft picks are looking like, after those, I'd want Brian Thomas Jr. every time over other players. That's about my break point when it comes to drafts this year. We're talking a lot from the point of view of draft picks, but you could also, someone who is out on him, you could probably do a like-for-like sort of swap. Brian Thomas Jr. is the sort of player that I reckon if you're trying to jostle a mid-range player when you're trying to get over a kind of superstar deal done, he's a sort of player I'd try to kind of Trojan horse into that, and actually I'd be quite happy having him. But I go, well, do you know what? Let's do Brian Thomas Jr. and someone else to mix that up as well. I just think that he could be. Will he be in the mix of wide receiver 4 again? No, I don't see that happening. Could he be a top 24 wide receiver again? Yeah, absolutely. The targets weren't too bad. 91 over 13 games, but only 48 receptions, 7.7 yards per target. That was a concern. On balance, though, his yards per catch in 2024 was 14.74. In 2025 was 14.73. What I'm saying is if you can start catching more of them, it seems quite obvious for a wide receiver, then it's going to look better for him. Remember, any draft pick is a risk. So if you're looking around that midpoint, at least we have seen NFL level production from Brian Thomas Jr. But part of the other reason I'm feeling a bit more confident about Brian Thomas Jr. is Trevor Lawrence. So 2025, QB4 overall, QB6 in fantasy points per game, 20.6. But after the bye week, and when there's new head coach coming in, after the bye week is an important data point. Because that's when you've had the start of the season to put stuff in play. You've got that bye week to really start to embed that practice and really reflect back on it. And after that bye week, he was QB1 in fantasy with 23.3 fantasy points per game. Liam Cohen's regime had settled in and T-Law thrived. He has Thomas, Myers, Washington at wide receiver. Sometimes might have Travis Hunter next year. Let's wait and see. Strange at tight end. Chris Rodriguez, not a huge RB name, so could toot and break out this year. absolutely on the cards as well. But Lawrence looks like he could hit his year one high for me of 600 pass attempts this year, potentially his first year of 4,300 yards. I just think Brian Thomas Jr. and T-Law's futures are entwined this year for fantasy. And I'm feeling really confident about Trevor Lawrence. Therefore, I've got to follow that through on being reasonably confident about BTJ as well. Agreeing on both. I know you're a T-Law fan. Can I sell you some Brian Thomas Jr. as well, Ed?
I think so. I don't see who else. Well, I do see who else could be wide receiver one in Jacksonville. It's Jacoby Myers. He signed that big contract, and you've got Brenton Strange to throw into the mix as well. But there's nothing to stop Brian Thomas Jr. being that wide receiver one. I think last year T-Law came through. It was a massive year for him. The Jags had a great season. They'll be looking to double down on that this season. And there's nothing to stop Brian Thomas Jr. From having a very solid season. I expect him to be something in between his rookie year and his sophomore year. He, like you said, he won't be wide receiver 4, he won't be wide receiver 30, but he'll be somewhere in between. Would I be trading for him? Possibly not. I think there's better value out there, but he's someone that definitely could interest me.
I think Brian Thomas Jr. is in that tricky mix of he has his fans and he has his haters as well, but each side of that know the other exists. So you're never going to get it for a bargain because people know there's someone that will pay a decent price for him. Yeah, it is a tricky trade, but someone that I will, at the right price, I'd certainly be considering. Well, that is all for our trade for candidates. Drop in the comments below who you'd be trading for, which of those players you disagree, and we'll be back in a few days with our trade away candidates. Anything left from you, Ed?
No, just great to be back.
That's all from us. Bada bing, bada bye.